We're here at the COP protest, that's right, protesting the climate change conference. Quite clearly, everyone behind me marching up and down here is absolutely fuming that world leaders are coming together to try and get something done to keep warming below 1.5 degrees. Let's talk to some of them.
If we don't start facing it out now, we will go extinct. And I
Humans will go extinct?
Yeah, of course.
Should everyone be like Cuba?
I think it's a very good example the way we can use socialism to be sustainable.
Its CO2 emissions are minuscule anyway, so...
Is that because no one can afford a car?
Partly.
Is it Scotland's oil?
Yes, it's off our shores. It should be Scotland's oil, but unfortunately it was taken over by the UK government.
So Scotland should have been drilling that oil instead?
Oh yes,
Denial and delay. Who's denying climate change?
There's still quite a lot of people that don't think it's full. I mean, Boris Johnson wasn't...
Boris Johnson's denying climate
and-
change? Excuse me, is this a protest in support of COP or against COP?
I'm neither for or against it, I suppose.
Nuclear power, yes or no?
No.
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 No. Dunno. No.
Not needed.
Why would you even think of nuclear power? Are we for or against nuclear power?
Against.
Again.
We support nuclear power. I think it's important.
I think definitely that 2050 is way too late.
Why do you know better than the UN?
Well, I don't know better. Science know better.
But the UN is scientists. The IPCC says 2050 for net zero and 2030 for halving. Why are they wrong?
Yeah, but...
I've got to say, for a march that was advertised as 100,000 strong, it doesn't look particularly busy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Palestinian flags. Why have you brought a big Palestinian flag to a climate conference?
Oh yes, one of the main mottos is climate justice, right? But and I agree with that. But let's not forget human justice.
So very green. Your sign says only world socialist revolution can end climate change. Which socialist countries have been particularly good on climate in the past?
The early Soviet Union was quite good on climate. I suggest it's something you look at. But
What about the Aral Sea?
what happened in the Soviet Union was something which I don't call socialism. That's partly because socialism doesn't work in one country.
It wouldn't be a climate protest without gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Who's going extinct?
We all are. That's the danger.
Danger is humanity could go extinct.
Yeah, well, the
Global warming has clearly got so bad that climate activists are having to huddle together, like penguins, just to stay away from the cold. What is your message?
Please do something.
You don't think anything's being done at the moment?
Well, I don't think enough. What do you think?
90% of the world's economy has signed up to net zero in the last week. Sounds like quite a lot's being done.
Well, yeah, but...
What are you hoping world leaders take from that sign?
Capitalism is not going to solve the problem of climate change, basically.
Which socialist countries have done better than capitalist countries?
There haven't really been any socialist countries, have there? Name me one.
There are lots that have tried it.
Yeah, but they tried it, but the flaming nags came in and stopped it, didn't they?
Maybe that suggests something inherent within the system.
Yeah, exactly.
I accept that socialism hasn't come about in the way that I would like to have seen it.
What would you like to see?
Actions, not words.
Which actions specifically?
We'd love to see the people who say they want to save our planet actually putting that into action.
Which actions specifically?
We'd love to see the people who say they want to save our planet.
What do we want?
Fish on a bin. We're here at a climate change rally. The UK's cut carbon emissions by 45% in the last 30 years, more than any G20 country. Surely that's sort of a path to progress.
Most of the cut in our carbon emissions is because we've offset, we've offshored it.
That accounts for about 5%.
Right, okay. I mean, I'd be very surprised.
You need to bring energy under public ownership, under democratic public ownership.
Politicians setting how energy is generated is going to be more green.
Absolutely not. That's why I'm in favour of workers controlling industry, not politicians.
How do workers control something if they're not politicians?
If you look at Are
you encouraged by anything you've seen at COP this week?
COP does seem to be mostly a greenwash situation here. I'm encouraged by this. I'm encouraged by the visceral expression of hope and resistance by people.
You're more encouraged by people out here in this field today holding banners and signs than by 90% of the world's economies signing up to net zero by the middle of this century.
Those figures are not satisfactory.
This was advertised as a 100,000 person march, a huge event, an enormous stage, throngs of people. Something tells me it's not quite 100,000 people here. There's blue smoke coming out of the horn of what I assume is a unicorn. I don't quite understand it either, but that really reflects what's going on here today at this protest. I think it's a bit of a mix. It's a carbon unicorn.
It's supposed to represent the carbon markets because carbon markets are a false solution.
Is this funded by the US Republican Party? Because they're against carbon markets as well.
No, it's not.
So carbon markets, one of the proposed solutions in terms of reducing CO2, you're utterly against it.
Carbon markets are not about reducing CO2, it's about getting net zero. They have to plant forests and trees and then it gets them to net zero, which is not how we want.
So you're against net zero?
We are against net zero because what we want is to address the root cause. The root cause is the emission.
If all 196 countries represented at COP26 signed up to net zero tomorrow, that wouldn't be enough for you?
That would be a failure for us because net zero is not the real solution. It's a false solution. I don't know why you keep pushing this, but it's not the right thing.
But the IPCC, the climate supremos at the UN, say that even if we just half our carbon emissions by 2030, we can keep warming to 1.5 degrees. Even that for you is not enough.
It is not enough.
The curiosity here, the curious thing, is that there are ecological and environmental protesters protesting the conference of their dreams. It's unimaginable 10 years ago that you'd have all of these countries committing to eliminating carbon from their economies on a net basis. It's unimaginable that we would have heard these pledges and all this cash going to developing countries to get ready for a net zero transition. It's unimaginable that the leaders of the biggest businesses in the world would be getting on board with that net zero agenda too. All of that's been happening down the road, and yet the people here at this protest are not happy. It makes you wonder, will they ever be happy? It makes you wonder, at what point will enough be enough? It's a curious point, but you know what? There's one more week of COP to go. Will there be a big agreement by Friday? Will there be a new seismic Paris-style agreement of all of the nations at COP, the 196 UN member states, those countries of the world? Will there be one new big agreement in terms of changing the way that we live, regulating more businesses, potentially fining businesses that do not meet net zero commitments? There's a hell of a lot going on. You'd think it would be the dream of the people here protesting, but something tells me that the people here today just love protesting too much.